Okay. First of all, I just want to start off by saying thank you, God, um, as they do something. You know, I know there'll be a day, and the reason why I make so many videos is because I know the day come when I will not be able to speak, and I know these perps that are working for this contracted, well, they're contracted by these governmental entities. Their job is to really disorient a target individual, and target individual. One thing I wish that if my videos make anything, does anything, is just do not identify with this manipulation. The stupidity that some of these perps have to get to gaslight you is no, there's no limit to that. They have no shame, right? And that's the job, because they, at the end of the day, gaslighting consists of disorienting a human being into accepting a false reality, a false narrative. They repent reality in this different fashion that's embarrassing. Sometimes it's just humiliating to the point of like, wow. It's like you don't have like self-respect. Like, your life consists of, these people are living like, these people are alive right now for X amount of time, years, or who knows how long they have to, and the embarrassments that they have to deal with in regard to gaslight me is just magical. Like, and the thing is, target visual, at this point in my targeting, the level of validation I have is just magical, to the point where I love to put that in their face 24/7. They're going to do these trashy things, but they're not going to go into the escapism of what this is really about. Like, they're not going to escape this. You know, I just heard somebody in the hallways, and they have these tactics. Gaslighting for me is like this. Once I don't identify with this manipulation and I see it for how clown-like it is and obvious that they manipulate me, they start telling me how I'm going to be torturing these horrible ways. And this is called deflection. In my targeting, there's a lot of gaslighting, and a lot of other target individuals is the same. There's a lot of gaslighting. With me, because at this point, I'm just beyond validated. It's just magical that they obviously manipulate me. And some of the ways they want me to think is so childish. Sometimes I can't believe this is grown people doing this. And so as I'm seeing how childish things are, they tell me how horrible things are going to be. So let me just say this. I thank God for the ability to see things for what they are, but I also ask God to give me strength, because it's going to be as horrible. And I understand, especially when I put these things in their faces a million times. They tell me I'm going to be castrated and all that. I'm like, at these points, and I'm not even exaggerating, I think that I will castrate myself. I know it sounds crazy. My point is, these perps are going to live off whatever horrible things I'm going to go through to make themselves believe that they didn't have to stoop to a level of retardation. And I'm sorry for using that word, but this is truly the best way I can describe the level of spectrum they have to get to try to gaslight you into this. So for me, if I see these perps and they want to leave this fantasy, oh, pay now, this and that, never. Where is the, where can, let me, I'm not suicidal, at least not anymore. But this is greater than anything. This is dignified. Because I know what they do. I know the reality, the horrible things they report, and the manipulations. That's just disgusting. And I could never imagine let this trash, as easy as it is to do what they do to us, because unfortunately what we are to this program is just test subject. So they're using this 21st century weapon system that the government is utilizing onto us to develop this technology, rotting my organs in so many ways, using this technology, doing this foulness of manipulations in their pajamas, and then let them escape into this fantasy that they're doing it because this and that, and coming up with storylines that's just comical. I can't do that. They're gonna do these easy things in full consciousness of what they're part of and how stupid and illogical they are. And when they play these gimmicks and really want you to gaslight you, I'm like, you're a fucking clown. I'd rather die in these horrible ways and live life like you, and the embarrassing life that these perps live like. Target individual, for me, the perps and like other perps is to truly make you acceptive of how this technology can alter your mind. And the comicalness of how they want you to see them as is just like a joke. How can I let somebody live this kind of life? As evil as it is, as easy as it is at the same time. How can I let a clown go into that fantasy? No, you gotta understand, there's a price to pay. Not today though. Everything has its time. You're gonna watch me suffer in whatever ways, but trust me, I don't want to trade places with somebody who does what they do. And thank you for making me feel such a wise human being, because you have to be a gaslighter, a retard, a clown for these governmental entities as you manipulate my brain. Thank you. At what point in my life or anybody's life where you can be so validated and so feeling so special in the way that you don't have to be this retarded. You see people who perhaps have more intellect than you, but for you to be accepting of this thing, gaslight you and become these clowns for the purpose of gaslighting. So there's nothing worse to see somebody who's gaslighting you and you recognize what they're doing. It's nothing worse for a gaslighter to be recognized as a gaslighter, because you recognize how much of clowns they have to be. And that's when they start deflecting about like how you're going to be rotting, you're going to be dying. Because you're looking at it like, you become a clown. Look at how much of a clown you are now. And the reason why I'm saying that is because how they're twisting things around. And the illogicalness and stupidity. I'm making this video. I was not planning to make this video till tomorrow, but I know by tomorrow will be something else. I have understood how these things works. They can recreate reality and then lock in this and box in this falsified thought processes and retardation. So, target visual, and anybody's watching, one thing that you know that this program does is alter your mind. Some of the easy things apparently that they can do, they've been doing for a long time, and the ability of this technology is to create emotions and stimulations, right? Emotion stimulations would be considered part of emotion. Arousals. Let me start off by saying, at this point, I understand that what's happening to my brain is things that I can describe now. But it's not only happening to my brain, my whole body is being destroyed. But I'm a test subject to this very sophisticated technology, which one might call it the 21st century new weapon systems. Why is that happening to me? Because unfortunately, the way they're developing this technology is utilizing it on test subjects. They are human beings. That's why you hear target individuals with horrible things happening to them, and it kind of sounds crazy. Talk about how they feel these burns, but nobody's around. There's some like devices that's applying onto them and that's giving them pain and things like that. And why them? Is because they're using us as test subjects. Some of the technology also alter the mind. And this is all things that they've been doing for a long time. And you have clowns, which I call them perps, which a lot of people call perps. Their job is, when they do that to you, they are trying to make you acceptive of the way they alter you, to alter how you are being. Alter is supposed to be identified to. For some reason, they want you to identify and acceptive of the manipulations that they make you experience, as validated as you are. Now, if initially, maybe when you don't know what's happening, you could be a little bit confused, but you know yourself. It's like, now something's off. But today, at this level of of awareness of what this program does and what the capability is, and the validation that you hear so many other people saying the same thing, I don't even understand how they don't feel embarrassed. It's over. There's a time they would do that, and I didn't know, but I knew it was not me, but I was like, something's happening to me. And they'll, I don't know, I saw you. Now I'm like, don't you feel stupid though? Because, listen, the Defense Department has been working on technology that are very sophisticated. I didn't know about it until it happens to me, and then it's so easy to find information. For example, DARPA in the 60s, worked on technology to see how you alter the mind. You see, what I do to them now is I don't only speak, but what you're gonna see here is this is stimulate me toward this kid, but I forgot that it was on here as I'm gonna show this. This is so sad. What they do is they've been trying to alter, or they've been learning how to alter the mind, or developing technology that alter the mind since the 60s. So this is what this is talking about on History Channel.
In 1965, DARPA launched Project Pandora, which studied the possibility of using microwave radiation to control human behavior. The project reportedly ended in 1969, but DARPA's investigation of how machines can affect and possibly control the brain continues to this day.
So they alter the mind, and it's
The
been
mind can be altered. In 1965, DARPA launched Project Pandora, which studied the possibility of using microwave radiation to control human behavior.
in the 60s. DARPA has been learning how to developing weapons or technology that can alter the mind. The 60s, the actual official name of this project was called Project Pandora. This is official. Now, this is History Channel. It is actually history. This is written. Now, as a target individual, you have people like them, right, surrounding you and try to gaslight you to make you acceptive of how you're being altered. You know, as I was right before I was showing that video about the History Channel, there's a picture that I'm going to show, which you've seen. They do these things to me. I show the videos or show what they're doing to me. It's the same stories. But you have these perps who are trying to make you acceptive of the manipulation that you're experiencing. So it seems like they're gaslighting you because they want you to identify with the way your brain is altered. And they can alter your mind using devices. And I'm going to try to explain it, and then you're going to hear somebody who, or at least describe what actually is happening. Somehow, they have a device that can capture your brain frequencies, right? And once your brain frequency can be connected to via this device, apparently your brain is linked to this device, and your brain start mirroring whatever device is experiencing. So they are copying your brain frequencies via this device, and once they have that connected to this device, your brain is hooked to it forever. So they can make you have these experiences that you want, they want you to have, that they desire you to experience, because they have your brain frequency connected to this device. And now all they have to do is to manipulate this device, and your brain is going to mirror what the device is experiencing with the frequency. You're going to have the same frequencies that this device has, and it's going to be transitioned to your brain. This is somehow how things are happening. And now you hear the noise campaign is part of like the disorientation tactics. Now, I'm saying it perhaps not as well as I should, but I think this man here says it in a better way. So, this man here speaks about it, and let me just...
The High Frequency Active Auroral Research Project was started as a joint effort of the Air Force and Navy. This is a very large array or field of antennas based in Alaska, radio frequency antennas.
HARP antennas transmit powerful radio signals into the upper atmosphere to study the effects on wireless communications. But Baggage says HARP can also be used for more sinister ends.
HARP has announced several other programs and campaigns, and there's two areas that I got very concerned about. One was weather modification applications. The other was the effect on human beings. If you can modulate a signal that the brain locks onto, recognizes, and begins to mirror or follow the frequency following response. The brain rhythms change, then it creates a chemical cascade within the brain.
So let me try to say, if you... Let me just bring it back so you can see the pictures too, which help in this case.
If you can modulate a signal that the brain locks onto, recognize.
So if they can create a modulate a signal that our brain can be locked onto,
and begins to mirror or follow the frequency following response. The brain locks onto, recognizes, and begins to mirror or follow the frequency.
So if the signal is recognized by your brain, your brain apparently start mirror that frequency, that signal. So they have to connect your brain to some kind of signal that the device can create.
If you can modulate a signal that the brain locks onto, recognizes, and begins to mirror or follow the frequency following response. The brain rhythms change, then it creates a chemical cascade within the brain, and the emotions change. Now the resolution gets finer and finer and finer. And it used to just be about triggering emotions. You can change people's brain chemistry pretty readily, change their emotional state pretty easily. But when you get down to the idea of thoughts and being able to manipulate those, that requires a different kind of sophistication.
Can we hear sounds?
So you hear that this technology that capture your brain signals can make you experience emotions, feelings, sensations, right? And then it has become way more sophisticated. And so he says something crazy, that creating emotions are very simple, very easy. So that's the easy part of this technology. I think he says it better here.
Those change, then it creates a chemical cascade within the brain and the emotions change. Now the resolution gets finer and finer and finer. And it used to just to be about triggering emotions. You can change people's brain chemistry pretty readily, change their emotional state pretty easily. But when you get down to the idea of thoughts and being able to manipulate.
So you hear emotions and feelings and sensation were easy. Emotion means like maybe anxieties, fear, or even sexual stimulations. Now, he says that was really easy. That was the easy part. Now it becomes deeper than that, and now we'll talk about thought manipulations. That's how things are now. We're talking about this. They start working on it since the 60s. So today, the refined ability to manipulate thought processes is another level. I know that very well because my thoughts are so manipulated, and they can box in these ways of thinking, and it locks in, and it becomes like the new ways of thinking. But it's not only me. Now, this other man here describes it in a better way too, and describe this EEG heterodyning cloning as mentioned here. Listen to him.
Designed to interact with the human nervous system in order to remotely pick up on someone's neural network or EEG, and not only receive that and monitor it, but manipulate it and place it back into the victim to control their emotions or control their actions or bodily functions for that matter. The other more recent term we have for that is EEG heterodyning or EEG cloning. The difference between EEG heterodyning and EEG cloning would be, let's say me remotely receiving your EEG and then duplicating it and putting that in another person to give them your same thoughts or feelings or physical reactions. EEG heterodyning would be receiving your EEG, manipulating it to put it back inside your head to give us a desired physical reaction or emotional reaction.
So you hear the different options, not the different, but this technology that can basically create emotions and stimulation and even thought process in your brain. Right? So they manipulate it, put it back in your brain, and you experience what whoever designed this reaction to have. Now, this is not meant to be helping people. This is a weapon system. I think this man describes it, the same man here describes it exactly what this is about. It gives you an idea what it's supposed to do. They're not here to make us think in very positive way or in ways that make you feel good. It's supposed to break you down psychologically. It's like a cognitive warfare of some sort on top of the other things they do to my body. But when we talk about the mind, this man I think describes it the best.
Fields of all kinds. For radio frequency, you can look at the Radio Frequency Dosimetry Handbook, 1986, University of Utah, produced for the Air Force. It gives you the resonant frequencies for each vital organ so that you can send in a radio signal that will couple with the liver, the kidneys, the lungs, and cause it to malfunction so that you can degrade the performance of your adversary. The new weapon systems being developed today will attack the mind, the body, and our physiology on an energetic level. Not with bullets and bombs. It's perfect Republican weapon function so that you can degrade the performance of your adversary. The new weapon systems being developed today will attack the mind, the body, and our physiology on an energetic level.
You hear that? The new weapon system will be attacking the mind, the body, physiologically, using...
Not with bullets and bombs. It's a perfect Republican weapon. No offense to Republicans here, but you don't degrade the performance of your adversary. The new weapon systems being developed today will attack the mind, the body, and our physiology on an energetic level, not with bullets and...
And it's being developed today by using human subject, and it's been the same for a long time.
It's a perfect Republican weapon. No offense to Republicans here, but you don't want to destroy the property and have to rebuild it afterwards. This is a weapon systems of the 21st century. It's the very beginning of it in a lot of ways, but the research goes back over 50 years. The first things that we published.
You understand? So, the 21st century new weapon system is being utilized onto us because it's being developed. They continuously improve on the tactics, on the ways that this is the most efficient ways. And they use people of all sorts, men, women, and children. Now, the things they do are very systematic. One thing they like to play with me is the most disturbing, and a lot of the target video is they play with your libido. Sexual manipulations in a disturbing ways is utilized. This man describes what this technology can do, because he's also a target individual.
Can be used to sexually manipulate the target. It can make the target feel sexual arousal.
It can make this technology forces target individuals to have sexual arousals in order to break them down. They use a libido in ways that are just tormenting, right? Listen, there's men and women have libidos, but they're manipulating the libidos. They're altering our mind to experience this libido. They can control that, like you say, easily. Give you a stimulation or an emotion to torment you, to mess with you. This man describes it pretty well here in regard of.
They use these monarch style torture programs. Like, it's based on sex and trauma. So they're gonna traumatize you, then use your libido to get back at you, and
so they play with the libido. It's disturbing. I mean, they can make you have extreme sexual arousals, extreme, like to the point where it hurts your testicles. You know, it got to the point where I would take something to not have a libido, then having a libido and let them play with my libido this way. I'm telling you, I'm saying that even feel uncomfortable saying that, but it's the reality. Your libido is so manipulated in this disgusting way, and it's so uncomfortable and disturbing. You like, it's just, and I'm somebody who enjoys sex. I live off like every man. I want, but if I had to choose, never have sex again, or have my libido being played with the way they play with, I would rather lose it. I'd rather lose my libido. I'm telling you, it's that bad. This woman here describes how they play with her libido, and they can make intense sexual stimulation. Listen to this.
I really mean extreme. I experienced an entire night with forced spontaneous orgasms repeatedly all through the night, one right after another, with maybe around 1 hour of sleep or so, as I lay immobilized in my bed in complete fear. This experience, along with the brain being microwaved and along with some internet research, is what made me put the puzzle pieces together to realize that I was experiencing remote external manipulation via electronic weapons, because these symptoms of sexual assault were not physiologically normal or possible without external manipulation. It is not physiologically normal to just have repeated spontaneous orgasms all through the night like that, literally one right after another. And then it all made sense.
Making this woman having orgasm after orgasm after orgasm. And I'm sure because being a woman, you have the ability to have those multiple orgasms. They can do that back to back to back to back versus a man where the release happens and then you will probably have to wait a while to go to back to back. So they play with your libido to the point of that. And it's disgusting. Listen to this woman who describes how they play with her libido. And I'm getting to the point where I want to. but I want to make sure that it shows how easily and clear it is and how obvious that the brain is being manipulated in disgusting ways, but they want you to identify with these manipulations. But before I get to that point, I just want to show how easy. Listen to this woman, and I'm going to just go to the end after she talks about how they were aiming those libido toward, which I brought up many times.
Last days, as today, September 9th, '07, anything I do, either watching TV or reading of whatever I'm doing, they brush me sort of say, I feel like I'm aroused all day and I feel the palpitations in my genitals for what I'm thinking, and since the attack comes so quickly, I realized my programming has been set on auto in their central computers. No handlers could do something like this that quick. What made me realized the slaves are desperate to get me. Unfortunately for them, they are facing a strong wall where no matter how much their computers EAP me, I know I'm not changing. As I said, I feel like they've been set up a beam where I feel constantly stimulated. I'm talking sexually, like a heat in my genitalia.
So, this is something that's utilized to break us down. Now, why am I bringing these things up right now? It's because, as I'm saying that they make me itch too, it's because they want you to identify with this, and they have no shame. These perps have no shame, and I'm thankful because now I'm gonna sound like a genius. This is the things that clearly say, okay, well, there's obviously a pattern of how they play with your libido. They can control that, obviously. This man said easily can create emotions. Emotion consists of sexual stimulations, right? So, with me, they do the same thing. Now, why am I bringing that up now again? It's because before I knew what a target individual was, I knew my libido was being played with. And I used to have this dialogue with V2K. So V2K is this, right? And they make me itch because they're creating reactions that are just supposed to make me... It's crazy. These perps are really, really creating their own reality in ways that are just magical. Like, it's like me making something happen. It's like, oh, it's so crazy. But that's the job, that they are truly, truly supposed to be doing that. So this is what V2K is, right? So V2K is this technology, and this woman's going to describe it.
V2K, or voice to skull. This involves the projection of voices, noises, and music directly into my mind to communicate with me in real time and at the speed of thought. And it also includes the manipulation of thoughts, emotions, and perceptions in the person's mind. Additionally,
so V2K, that started with everything on August 19, 2019. When I was getting these things, I knew something was happening to me. I knew that was not me. I would be forced to get sexual stimulation. And the nasty part is like they would make me have this sexual stimulation toward children. They do this pedophilia type of torture that this woman, who talks about how she's getting forced to get this manipulation in her libido. For example, this woman here.
What is referred to as malodorance. This is the alteration of the smell sensation so that I am often made to smell various things, including smoke, burning, dirty diaper, or baby powder, which they sometimes combine with the pedophilia type of torture, including the threat.
You heard it well. She called it the pedophilia type of torture. After making her smell baby powder, because baby powder, they will force her some kind of sexual stimulation of some sort. Making her think of babies of some sort. That's pedophilia centric. Or remember that woman that was talking about how they were playing with her libido and then always make her feel uncomfortable. Listen to how this manipulation started and where it ended. Listen to this.
Perversion that they never take my will, ASS. So just to show them that I meant what I said, I kept playing with my dog, and even though that attacks continue, I don't let them get me. Today, they continue with the programming of perversion, but this time they are aiming in the use. A people, better said young people, also children and homosexuals.
Now you hear that. This program perversion, they start making her have sexual stimulation toward her dog first, her pet. Then they start doing that toward people, young people. children and homosexual. All of that has been happening to me too. Now, when it comes to homosexual, I don't care, right? When it comes to dogs, it's just too obvious, right? So they don't do that anymore. But they used to do that toward pets, toward homosexuals or gay people, or not even gay, just guys. But I don't care too much about that. But toward children, it was the most disgusting things. And they're still doing it today. And I'm gonna show you the picture of what they did to me, to this kid, this baby. And it's always like that. That's how they're gonna make me experience this nasty reaction, or that's how they're gonna make me experience things today. So if I see a child, a little girl especially, they're gonna force me to get sexual stimulation, and they're gonna try to make me accepting of this manipulation. So, but now I know all this information, right? This is the information I learned after the summer of 2020, right? That's when I started learning about this, which is now I'm like, okay, that makes a lot of sense. It's exactly what I'm going through. It's scary how things are just exactly the same. But before then, I knew that why my libido was being cranked up, I'm being manipulated, and it was super intense. I think maybe even more intense than today, because I feel like they would try to gauge things before. And so the intensity stimulation was so intense. And I remember I was having this V2K, right? And they have these dialogues. You don't know. You should not interact with this V2K really. But I remember they were interacting with me, and they were forcing me to get sexual stimulation toward these kids. And it was so intense. And they make me think, can you see yourself climaxing? I was like, in 2 seconds. Because these people are manipulating my brain. That it would take very little pressure for me to release. And I'm not trying to use graphic words. And I'll say that because I know this is not natural. The reason why I can do that is because I'm being manipulated to have this intense arousal, that even like that. You heard this woman having back-to-back orgasm just in her bed. And I'll say that like that. And today, where they try to say, you see? You say you can, you say you could make yourself release quickly, or make yourself release. It's like, yes, I could, very, very easily. It would take me maybe 2 seconds, because the amount of sexual stimulation I was forced to have was intense. But they would do that toward children. And in my brain, they're like, could you see yourself? I was like, it'll be like, this thing can happen in 2 seconds. Meaning that these people, I'm so manipulated that it would, like that, if I wanted to. Like, it would take 2 seconds. I was like, so you would do it? It's like, no, I would not do it. But it would take very little for me to release. Because they manipulate the brain so much, or they stimulate me so much that I'm at that point. And they're like, so you want to do that? I was like, no, I don't. You are playing my libido so much that it will take me very little to have a sexual release. And they're twisting, because this is also a psychological cognitive warfare where they can alter the thought process. And they play with your brain. Right? You see how they try to twist things around? Because I'm saying that they manipulate my libido so much and doing these things to me so much that it would take me so very little for me to have a sexual release, because I'm being manipulated. I'm not going to do it, of course not. But it would take me very little to release, just because you can do this.
This technology can be used to sexually manipulate the target. It can make the target feel sexual arousal.
And because they use this libido in ways that's so tormenting and so intense. And this is the level of sexual stimulation that they can create onto a target individual, that this woman is forced to have orgasm after orgasm.
I really extreme. I experienced an entire night with forced spontaneous orgasms repeatedly all through the night, one right after another, with maybe around 1 hour of sleep or so, as I lay immobilized in my bed in complete fear. This experience, along with the brain being microwaved and along with some internet research, is what made me put the puzzle pieces together to realize that I was experiencing remote external manipulation via electronic weapons, because these symptoms of sexual assault were not physiologically normal or possible without external manipulation. It is not physiologically normal to just have repeated spontaneous orgasms all through the night like that, literally one right after another.
They're using the libido in these disgusting ways where they can make you have intense stimulations. And for me, they will have this sexual stimulation. For example, I will hear a child scream, yeah, and they force me to get this sexual stimulation. In my mind, like, could you like get to the point where you climax? I was like, it will take me very little, of course, because something's happening to my body to have these extreme feelings. And I was just saying that this is how I'm being manipulated. Now, these perps have no shame, right? Obviously, they try to change everything up in the fashion of like, oh, so that you wanted to do this. No, of course I don't want. It was traumatizing. It was disturbing. I wrote a suicide letter because of these things, because they were doing these things and they're still doing today, but not.
They use these monarch-style torture programs, like it's based on sex and trauma. So they're gonna traumatize you, then use your libido to get back at you,
and they'll do this pedophilia type of torture as this woman, and still do today.
Torture.
Very much.
They coordinate the voices and thought manipulation with the physical torture.
Let me show you this.
It's what is referred to as malodorance. This is the alteration of the smell sensation, so that I am often made to smell various things, including smoke, burning, dirty diaper, or baby powder, which they sometimes combine with the pedophilia type of torture, including the threat of planted.
So they were doing that to that level, right? Now, today they're trying to flip things around, saying, "Oh no, you wanted to do this, so that means you can do it." Like, and they're like, "Oh, awkward. Oh, it's stupid." I'm like, well, you're just twisting things around. And they're so childlike. I'm like, you're so. Of course, this is what I was meaning. And matter of fact, the reality is, I was trying to reprogram. I didn't know that it was not going to help, but I would, because they would crank up my libido so much. I was like, okay, I'm gonna start watching adult content. I used to watch this, and I still watch some of it to try to release some of the libido. And I used to live by the streets, right? And I watched this, like, let's just say this adult content. If there was a black man and a black woman, they would do this. I would watch that, trying to climax, and will scream out, "Black girls!" And they'll start making me imagine that this woman I'm watching is a child, a grown-ass woman, and make me imagine little black girls. To the point where I was so traumatized that I cannot even watch adult content where there's black women, because they're gonna make me think of black little girls. It was so disgusting. Now, but today what they're trying to do is like, no, but you see, awkward. You can see, you say that you could do this. It's like, no, you're just twisting it in different ways. I say I could climax because you manipulate me to the point where my libido is being cranked up the way this woman libido is cranked up to the intensity that's crazy. I don't even have. I would just a wind can blow. At one point, I was looking at my phone. I had a phone, and they were giving me this sexual stimulation through my phone. I'm like, what? And I was like, listen, even look, I can climax just to, but look at my phone. They were messing with my libido to that level. And I was like, even my phone here. So now the mind games they're playing with me to try to be like, now you proved it. Because what's happening is like, they try to say, no, but remember what you did when you were a kid. You see? You did that when you were like in middle school, 13, 14 years old. Matter of fact, they was doing this with me when the clock was like 4:14. So I can think about, remember what you did as a kid. I'm like, what? like, no, we mined it, we mapped it. No, you just did what this man says. You play with my libido to torment me. Just like this woman said. You did the pedophilia type of torture, crank up my libido, just like this woman said that the feeling that she felt when she was petting her dog. Then it was aimed toward children and women, and children and homosexuals. They play with your libido. And they aimed it toward a phone. Not even objects, they were stimulating me. One point they would do that to goats and then try to bring up other things that's so even disgusting. And little goats. I was in a third world country. And they would stimulate me on everything. I saw little goats. What was stimulation? I was like, oh my gosh. It was insane. Where it would take me 2 seconds to have a climax. If I just the wind blowing it's that intense. And so now they start playing with your brain. Like, no, you say you could do it. Remember what you did as a kid. It's like, no, I could get to a climax because you manipulate my brain, of course. And they play they play this game where the guy's like, no, that's proof awkward. We mapped it. They're gonna see this. They're gonna torture you. I was like, okay. This is the games they play. And the thought process becomes so intensely retarded. Then, earlier, because they did this thing they did this manipulation, which is what I was the picture I was talking about as I was making this video. I accidentally looked at and I was like, oh, on camera when I was filming this is this kid. This is a rap T.I., the rapper. I saw him, his wife, and this little girl. At one point I thought it was like his little boy that was like a long time ago, and I remember being able to see him normally. But this is like a new little girl. I didn't know he had like a new child. I didn't know he had a child that's that young. I thought they're all like older. But this kid comes up early on. I don't even want to look at it right now because they can force me to get sexual stimulation. And then guess what they do? They try to make me imagine climaxing while looking at this picture of this kid. It's like, oh, you see, we mapped it. And this is also something they do, because they start playing with your thought process to mentally torture you. And they lock in this thing as if it's something that I imagined myself. They make me imagine this. And like, you see, you could do this. You see, that's proof. I was like, what? You just made me imagine this happening right now. This is what they do.
Able to impose any information on the brain of a person, presumably by some kind of waves, which in the mind take the form of voices, thoughts, and images in imagination. In addition to this kind of implanting information that they need, they manipulate the psyche so that the information is written into your memory. Then by stimulating the certain regions in the brain, they can retrieve this information and present it as your own memory. This is the conclusion that can be made judging by the influence they have been making on me with their psychotronic weapons, for example, artificial thoughts, imagination, and mental torture.
Artificial thoughts, artificial imagination, and mental torture. And it's part of this way of playing with your brain and rewire your thought process in these ways, and they box it in. So now it feels like I did this thing when it's crazy. It's the mind games are insane, but the most important the stupidity that these perps have to stoop to gaslight me is magical. They don't have all this information. This is the things they do. This is the things they've done to others, and I have things like that validates that they do these things. This thought manipulation, this rewire of thought process, and these manipulations.
That can pipe voices into an individual's head. And once you can do that, you can control them using neuro-linguistic programming techniques. You're rewiring their thought processes and brains.
So they just rewire my thought process to imagine this kid that I just saw not too long ago. Make me imagine this thing when they were making me think, oh, can you get to that point? Or can you do, it's like, it would take me 2 seconds to release my, then they make me imagine doing that and thinking about this, the way they just rewire my thought process in this way. But this is part of this program that is supposed to break us down, and we use as this cognitive guinea pigs for the utilization of this technology. And they do these things.
And then, I don't know if I'm going to get into this, but there's something called hyper game theory. How do you, they want to see if they can manipulate people to do things that are irrational, but also walk them to their death. And so you can call it a eugenics program even. And they need to sample all cultures, language throughout the world to define the probability matrices of which tricks, techniques, deception works. So
this is why they play these games, and because they do these things and they want you to be acceptive. And they when you put things in perspective, they just start deflecting about how I'm going to be in pain and torture. Not to say that that's not going to happen. As a matter of fact, I know it's going to happen. Especially when I'm putting these things in their face 24/7. It's crazy. And this is the things they do. It's just like cognitive warfare of some sort that would test that subject.
This person developed delusional disorder. This is a paranoid schizophrenia. But first of all, nobody develops paranoid schizophrenia in the 50s, in their 50s. This is, if you haven't developed it by 30, it's not. Then this technology exists. These nefarious programs exist. And it's hard to imagine for a person that, why would you do something like this? But if you think about the new type of warfare,
cognitive warfare.
Exactly, it's a cognitive warfare. You don't have to kill people that you are fighting against. You can just degrade their brain. You can
you alter their minds.
Yeah, alter their minds,
personalities.
And it's like Chinese torture.
And that's what it's about. And they have people around you to try to make you accepting of these manipulations and this stupidity. And it's very pedophilia centric. And then for me, they're just like, no, but remember you used to talk about me in middle school, try to exaggerate what I did as a kid, or try to make me think, no, we're making your brain be. I was like, you clown. And I'm supposed to be identified with this. When there's even validation of this level.
It's dramatic. It's somebody trying to end my life. It's somebody trying to end who I am as a person. It's somebody trying to take over my mind, putting thoughts of it. Like, this disgusting thing. You saw where I was going with that first word. Disgusting thing that everyone said, because it makes me sick. I don't even like those words in my mind. But it is what it is. So I have no choice now but to acknowledge that there are people in my surroundings or whatever they're doing. I don't know how they do it. I don't care. I don't know if it's through weapons. I don't know. I don't care.
The validations are too much. And so for me, it's like, don't you feel stupid? Now, I'm making these videos because I know tomorrow is going to be different. But I have this video. And they twisted the stories in these different ways in my brain. It's like, no, you see, you could get there. It's like, of course I could. It would take me 0.5 seconds. Meaning that I could easily climax. I could easily, because you have cranked up my libido to that point. Matter of fact, sometimes, if this little thing here touch my private part, they start giving me stimulation. That's how intense it gets. And that's why I could easily be able to climax. But of course, I'm not going to do it. But I'm saying, like, it will be so easy. Because it's not naturally happening. These arousals are being forced onto me. So climaxing will be easy. Because I'm being manipulated to have these sexual arousals that this woman and others have been tormented by. The way they torment us. To break us down. And then you have these perps with those shame. Who are like, oh, you see, that's program mapped it. You see, you could, stupid, like children. You gotta see how this is embarrassing. This noise campaign, they're doing all this noise campaign, trying to disorient me. But that's what they're supposed to be doing. You gotta understand that there's no shame in these people, and they can't have shame, because they're supposed to make me think that this makes sense. You've seen how these perps are. Children, I'm trying to put it up right now, but Doesn't matter if you with no shame. So, to all my target individual, be strong and understanding reality, because people like them, they come in all shape and form. I've seen them all kind of like of childlike individuals and non-childlike individuals, and doing the most clown-like things. I'm trying to pull it up right now, but it's okay. So for me, it's just like, I'm so thankful I have the dignity to be able to express myself, and they want me to feel uncomfortable, and I'm like, what? They're like, oh, so awkward. I'm like, Jesus, really? Target individuals, stay strong and see this low life what they are.